operating. I said this for 15 years, that the goal of the terrorist is to make you afraid. Quit cooperating. Don't be afraid. Stop being afraid. If you're not afraid, then they didn't get what they wanted. I just want to think, and I know I've said this before, but I just want to put things into context. If you think back to World War II, and you look at what happened in Europe and in England, where entire cities were totally bombed to rubble. I mean, it's so much destruction. We have no idea. I mean, really. We have no experience of this. And then one thing, yes, life is, I'm not saying that in terrorist acts, life's not lost, but I'm saying one thing that really has very small impact compared to that can actually make the stock market tumble. And huge economic losses, which is exactly the point of doing it. So you say, wait a minute, yes, it's a horrible thing that happened, but in the scope of things that we've experienced in the history of man, this is really not a very big deal. And the other thing is, they don't have the power to inflict some huge thing. I'm talking about in the physical world now. So even in the physical world, this fear is unfounded. And again, I'm going to say that we are manipulated by this fear. This crazy Homeland Security Department. Do you know, now, here I'm on a rant now. You're just going to have to ride with it. I'm going to just tell you. In the airport, when the thing goes off, when you walk through the body scan and it goes off and it says there's something that they need to check, and then they give you the pat down, right? I think I demonstrated the pat down a couple of weeks ago. But when they do this, they check to see, the scan was supposed to show them something, you know, you got something on your person that you're not supposed to be carrying, right? Well, how many times do you think they found somebody carrying some kind of weapon or something dangerous in that pat down? I mean, in all the time that they've been doing it now, how many times do you think they found somebody actually had something dangerous on their person? 0. Not one time. Look it up. Google it. 0. What in the world? Fear. All this fear is rampant. This fear is crazy. It's rampant. So, okay. When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. I want to just say, this for me, you know, because I still, I'll tell you, when we're talking about the police shooting this guy on his porch, I hope that that we come up with some other solutions besides shooting people. I mean, it just seems like not the best lesson to teach people not to shoot people by shooting people. But when I see these tapes of the police just gunning people down in this just insane way, it makes me crazy. I go nuts. Now my rage has come up and I want some kind of revenge. This is not helpful. I'm saying, but it's so justified. Listen, if I see it, then I show it to somebody else. I say, look at this. Can you believe that they did this? Right? So now I want to enlist somebody else in my outrage. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be healed. But my outrage is not going to heal it. My outrage is going to add to it. We've got to figure out a way to let go of the hate and the fear so that these things can be healed. Not in denial. We definitely need to point it out and say, no, there's consequences here. I mean, something needs to be looked at. We've got to change policies and do all of that. But more importantly, we've got to let go of the fear. We have to come to that place where the only place that the war between us is ever going to end is when we say, I am not going to kill you, even if you kill my brother, because you are my brother. Somewhere along the line, we have to say, that's the deal. I'm going to restrain, I'm not saying I'm just going to let you go on a rampage. I'm going to restrain you, but I'm not going to kill you. For years, in England, the common law was You could not kill someone for crimes against property. Was totally not allowed. If someone stole something from you, you could not kill them. You could not kill them if they were in your house. The only way that it was acceptable for someone to take someone else's life was if your person was in direct danger right now. Now all of a sudden, with all this fear being rampant, we've got stand your ground laws where people think they can walk around with guns, and if you stick your chest out, they shoot you. It's insane. But what I want to point out, see, I get all worked up over it. But the fact of the matter is, me getting all worked up over it is a symptom of the very fear that I was talking about at the beginning. It all has to be forgiven. My outrage over the outrage has to be forgiven, has to be forgotten. We have to come together to begin in the mind to realize that each and every one of us, we are not alone. We're all in this together. We're all in it together. And these are the kind of exercises that I think are so important. If I have a situation in my life that I cannot deal with, an illness, whether I perceive it as mental or not, an illness, a chronic whatever, problem, relationship problem, whatever it is, the visualization in the mind is to take this ugly issue and carry it to Spirit. Give it to God. Give it to the Holy Spirit. Give it to Jesus. However you think about it. Put it in the light. Don't hide it. Take it. Take it to the light, right? Another visualization. So when I've got a problem with a person, to see myself standing face to face with the person. Begin to see some light in them. And watch as that light obliterates the darkness that I saw before. Another visualization. To see myself hugging the person that I'm upset with. You don't have to actually do it. You don't have to actually go over to their house and hug them. They'll be alarmed. But to see it in your mind. That person that you're having a disagreement with, to visualize yourself just going up to them, putting your arm around them and say, come on, we go together. And see yourself walking down this path to unity. We're in this together. Come on, let's go. These are powerful things. When we begin to do them in our own mind, it changes the way that we react to life. It heals us from the inside out. So we start thinking differently. We start thinking differently, and when we start thinking differently, then the things that we see in the outer world are different. Sickness would prove that lies must be the truth, but healing demonstrates that truth is true. The separation sickness would impose has never really happened. To be healed is merely to accept what always was the simple truth and always will remain exactly as it has been forever. And the simple truth is just this: we're one. We really are all in this together. And there's no way to separate us. If you wipe out, if you have a fantasy in your mind, which I've had, and I've had this fantasy in my mind, I said, well, if all those people were just gone, then it would be okay. No, there's more coming. Somebody else will show up tomorrow, for sure. Healing might thus be called a counter dream, which cancels out the dream of sickness in the name of truth. Just as forgiveness overlooks all sins. Now I want you to picture this. So it's like looking at it from a higher consciousness. All these mistakes, all these errors, all these sins down here, forgiveness looks over the top of them to the spirit that is true. But also is aware that there was this down, it's not. It's overlooked. It's It's overlooked. It's seen from a higher point of view. Just as forgiveness overlooks all sins that were never accomplished, healing but removes illusions that have not occurred. Just as the real world will arise to take the place of what has never been at all, healing offers restitution for imagined states and false ideas which dreams embroider into pictures of the truth. Yet think not healing is unworthy of your function here, for the Antichrist becomes more powerful than Christ to those who dream the world is real. Antichrist is just the ego, okay? It's just the ego. That's all. Now, the Catholic Church said that this is the Antichrist. But that aside, the body seems to be more solid and more stable than the mind. And love becomes a dream, while fear remains the one reality that can be seen and justified and fully understood. Forgiveness shines away. Now just see this. Forgiveness shines away all sin. The forgiveness in your heart is a light that shines on all the errors that you have ever noticed and dissipates them like fog in the morning sun. The real world will occupy the place of what you have made. The real world meaning stripped of all of our fearful perceptions. What is really there will appear when we allow this light of forgiveness to shine through us. So healing must replace the fantasies of sickness which you hold before the simple truth. When sickness has been seen to disappear in spite of all the laws that hold it, it says it cannot be real. Then questions have been answered, and the laws can no longer be cherished nor obeyed. The laws of sickness can no longer be cherished nor obeyed. Finally, let me just say this. When I am healed, I am not healed alone, and I would bless my brothers, for I would be healed with them as they are healed with me.